This is chapter 12. This is a very short chapter. It just briefly looks at the diversity of life, just to give you a little bit bigger picture of how big the field of biology really is. And part of it looks at is the diversity of life that we have gotten through evolution and who is related to each other. So here you see a bee and a flower, and although they look very different, they do many different behaviors. One falls into the category of an animal, the other in a plant. They are actually distantly related. So when we look at the evolution of life on Earth, we have the three domains, the archaea, the bacteria, and the eukarya. And they all branch from a common ancestor at a single point. So all forms of life on Earth actually are related from this distant ancestor here. This distant ancestor that would actually be the starting point is sometimes referred to as LUCA, your last universal common ancestor. So that's how you can have that bee and the flower be related. So we do have other classification systems. When we look at taxonomy, taxonomy is the study of classification. Each sublevel in the taxonomic classification system is going to have organisms become more similar. So although dogs and wolves are the same species because they can breed and produce viable offspring, they are considered different enough to be classified as different subspecies. So when you look at this, you can see here you've got the domain, eukarya, examples of everything that is included in there. We narrow it down a little bit with the kingdom Animalia. That's going to pull off the plants. Then the phylum Chordata. All of these have a spinal cord. Class Mammalia. Order Carnivora. Family Canidae. Genus Canis. Species Canis lupus. And so your subspecies here is going to be the dog. Another way of looking at organizing organisms is through a phylogenetic tree. We don't typically see a phylogenetic tree made that's attempting to put all 1.8 species that we've identified onto a single tree. Instead, we will narrow it down and look at just small branches of it. So here the tree is rooted. It shows down here at the bottom, and it shows different organisms and subspecies of the living apes that evolved from a common ancestor. Down here at the bottom is where you would have the common ancestor. The earlier the line is and branches off, the earlier they branched off or speciated. So the gibbons branched off before you had the mountain gorilla, the human, the bonobo, or the chimpanzee. When you create a phylogenetic tree, there's a lot of yes and no questions that go in trying to categorize things. So this is an example of a phylogenetic tree that's rooted by an organism that lacked a vertebral column. So at each branch point, the organisms with different characters are placed in different groups. So we look and we ask first, does it have a vertebral column? If not, it's going to be a lancet. If it does, the next question we ask is, does it have a hinged jaw? If not, it's a lamprey. If it does, the next question we ask is, does it have legs? If no, it falls into the category of fish. If yes, it's going to be asked, does it have an egg with an amnion? If no, it's a frog. If yes, we ask, does it have hair? If no, lizard. If yes, categorized as a rabbit. So it's a series of yes and no questions to determine which way you're going to take in the branch. Here we see lots of organisms that all have these forelimbs. Bat and bird wings, the foreleg of a horse, the flipper of a whale, the arm of a human are all considered homologous structures. This indicates that bats, birds, horses, whales, and humans share a common ancestor in the past. Here when we look at the human jaw and a chimpanzee jaw, you'll notice that the chimpanzee jaw protrudes to a much greater degree than the human jaw. So there was some differences that occurred through evolution there. The wing of a honeybee is going to be similar in shape to a bird wing and a bat wing, and it serves the same function of flight. The bird and bat wing are homologous structures. However, the honeybee wing has a different structure. It's made of a chitinous exoskeleton instead of a bony endoskeleton, and different embryonic origin. So the bee and bird or bat wings illustrate analogous structures, structures that do not share a common evolutionary history. So here you can see another phylogenetic tree. You've got lizards, rabbits, and humans all descended from a common ancestor in which the amniotic egg evolved. Thus, lizards, rabbits, and humans all belong to the clade Amniota. So the vertebrata is a larger clade that also is going to include the fish and the lamprey. So this is just to kind of give you an idea of how we organize the different types through either doing the Linnaean system of taxonomy or doing the phylogenetic trees, and that there is tremendous variety of life.